Oh, it's not ready yet then, Bryce?
So just give us the high sign when you're ready.
You should be able to
Okay, we'll bring our meeting to order. Is that on now, Shelley? You want to close the door, please, Shelley, so there's no other noise? Thank you, Ramsey. We'll bring our meeting to order. We'll start our meeting with the Ohodom Garawatego, as well as the Lord's Prayer in the Mohawk language. Gunjokwa Sedewansiyos Guni Garawesa, the Igadi Ohodom Garawatego, Ungadi we no ho de Aguego, Unsko Deduit Nuni, the Ungwat Nigora, Dano, Yatini Wirados, ne Ogwe Soha. Asok Aguego, Skono, Agohage. Aguego, Unsko, Dediwit Nuni, ne Aguego, ne Radano, de Yatiniwe Rados, don ne Yadini Stonha, G. Yoanjadi, Chisego, Yatka, Gowa, Hadyes, Ago, Satstonsera, na e Yohage. Aguego, Unsko, Dediwit Nuni, Yogwat Nigora, Dano. De Tiniwe Rados ne Aguego Yonwase G. Owanjadi. Aguego Unsko Diniwe Noni ne Guatnigura. Dano de Tiniwe Rados ne Aguego Yonwase G. Garohiadi. Dano Ohono Gadi Aguego G. C. Dewe Rado Isongwaya Dizo Nene Gasat Stonsera. Wano, Saoyera, Eto, Neo, Dunhak, Neobuat Nigora. It translates to people listen for a short time. The business has come to pass. Everyone will bring our minds together as one and send our greetings to the people so that peace will continue for all. Everyone will bring our minds together as one and send our greetings to our Mother, the Earth, as she still goes along giving of her own strength for us to live good lives. Everyone, we will bring our minds together as one and send our greetings to all things that support us on the earth. Everything will bring our minds together as one and send our greetings to all things that support us in the sky and the heavens. And now we send our greetings to Sungwayat Dizo, the creator, the great strength of the natural world. Let this always continue in our minds. Songwat niha nigarunhyagi de shidar, okosanada gondi sayanetsra andawat, chinutsare et yauna ne hunjagi, jonanitu nigarunhyagi, dagyo nisaradi, yatani usaragi, ungunadarukni oni, donaguriosto, ne jumwari wanero, jita the gary stonis, ne rowdy water uxero, ego asi sawan, nagayanetsra nagasat stonsera, always onsera, Jenyahoe, Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So we have before you an agenda dated April 11th. And on the agenda this morning is the minutes of the March the 22nd. We'll take a session for any business arising from the minutes. Chief and Council's upcoming meeting dates will be listed. The meeting dates for May and June will be approved. There are two requests from Miles' family to hunt on the reserve. The Iroquois Caucus General Assembly information being held in Ottawa in mid-April. There's community well-being, a memo from Home Support. A request for a meeting with a lawyer with Bill Bill C-92 to look at creating our own child welfare law. There is contribution amendment number 38 to be approved by Council. The appointment of the auditors, and Wilkinson is recommended again. The Bank of Montreal Mortgage Loan Program reports on the agenda. The Mohawk Conversion Funding Agreement needs Council's approval, as well as the TTO agreement. There's a request to transfer some funds for from the Ontario First Nations Limited Partnership Fund 2008. This is the OLG revenue distribution. There are some legal invoices that require approval. There's the ESCA Child Center Agreements, 2 of them, that require council's approval. There's a recommendation for an organizational structural change at the Community Wellness Program. Mapping request to collect a few rocks in our community from MNR. And the LFDC funding agreement, there's a memo coming from Sam. There was nothing on the agenda, but I understand that she's made a request that Steve Williams wants to make a presentation to council on the ISET agreement. That's $1.7 million. Then there's a list of the upcoming meetings. April the 12th is the local council. On the 19th of April is the Mohawk Council regular meeting, and on April 26th is the local council business meeting. Then we have a private agenda. And so could I have a motion to accept the agenda as provided? Is there a mover?
I actually have 2 changes, requested changes, if I may.
Okay.
Number 18, this is the organizational structure change. This impacts, it's not only an organizational structure change, it's actually a restructuring of a program. I had requested to meet with the Director of Community Wellbeing and the CAO prior to this coming on the agenda for some more information. I think that there's information that may be worth reviewing prior to this actually coming. So I would like to request that we defer that until I have the conversation.
Okay.
Since this falls under the community wellbeing portfolio.
Okay. Is the council agreeable to defer item 18 till Stacia can have the discussion with the CAO and the director? Yeah. Is there anyone who's opposed to that? Okay, so that will be deferred till when, Stacia?
We can bring that back for our next regular meeting.
Okay.
So that would be, I believe, the 19th.
Yeah.
That might be too soon. That might have to be the next May meeting. So
end of April sometime.
I believe it would be. Well, we haven't confirmed our May meeting dates yet, so I would say our first regular meeting in May.
Okay, well, what we could do is put it on the next agenda, and then you can give us a status report. If we need more time, just let us know.
Sure, that sounds,
so we don't lose
good.
Track of it.
Okay.
Okay.
And the only other request, sorry, I had 2. So I had 2. So that was 18 and 19. The mapping request, I did see that that there was an email that was provided, but I didn't see any overview or review from staff, either from infrastructure or environmental services. So I think it would be ideal to at least have some sort of report or guidance from our staff internally to provide a recommendation on that.
So you want that deferred as well?
Correct, and I think that one could likely come back for our next regular meeting next week.
I think it's really just to collect a couple of rock samples of rare rock or something that they think is in the community. I don't think it's like any big invasive procedure.
No, perhaps it may not be, but I think it's good if we have our staff involved in that process.
Yeah, it was all sent to the email has been sent to the staff, but nothing has come back. Okay.
So those are the only 2 items that
okay.
I could defer them.
That'll be deferred. Is there any opposition to deferring it? None? Okay, Chris?
So Chief, I've submitted a highly confidential item that I'd like to have added to the agenda for the private, item 25.
This should go, it's a staffing matter, so that should go.
Staff, wants me to in private.
Yeah, they'll be in private.
Just Chief and Council at the end of the session.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll add this to the private agenda then.
Thank you.
So I can move to approve our regular agenda meeting.
With the with noted that the items 18 and 19 will be deferred to a future meeting.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there a seconder for the motion?
I'll second. I can second.
Second by Ted. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. So the first item then is the minutes of March the 22nd. Are there any errors, omissions, or corrections to the minutes?
There are a few. I've made some corrections. I don't know if you have the corrected ones in front of you, Chief, or not.
I don't see any red marks on my sheet, so I presume that that these are the corrected version. Okay, do you want to go over what your corrections are
Sure.
then?
I can do that. The changes were made, I think, 2 or 3 days ago. And they were available on the drive. So the first change is right under staff. So it's one of the first sentences. So Chief Merkel opened the meeting with the and also provided the Lord's Prayer,
And it should be,
a capital P and then an apostrophe between D and S.
okay,
Motion number 1, a D at the end of approved.
are there other corrections?
There are. Motion number 5. Tyendinaga Mohawk Council approve, remove 2. The following new vendors, add an S at the end of vendor. Motion number 6. Just to remove, there's an additional to approve in motion number 6, so just to remove one of the extra to approves.
An apostrophe after allocations?
No, you won't need that.
Okay.
Motion number 10, it's just a change of the word principal LE rather than AL. And those are the substantive, that was it, substantive. The other ones are in the drive, just commas here and there.
Okay, and number 7 for me, is that 2 words?
Oh,
And
it
mitigate?
is, yes. I actually didn't catch that.
I thought that was 2 words, so just there's space there.
Correct.
And the other thing was the amendment for the water line for 4 million. It was actually 4.4 million for the total amount, but I don't know if the amendment just said 4 million or not, because they advanced 4 million and there's a holdback of 400,000, but the total agreement is for 4.4 million in motion 13 for the water main extension. That would be for Gussie's Lane, Cedar Glen, and Iona, and Shannonville, but the total amount of the contribution is 4.4. So Angela and Shelley, could you check with Cecil to see if that amendment is for the 4.4 million as per the letter came from the department, or whether the amendment is just for 4.4 million. And the other thing is the 2,071,947. It's for the water distribution line. It's not, has nothing to do with the water treatment plant. And that's the cost overrun. So it should read, instead of treatment plant, it should say water distribution line. And those are the only points I have, besides the ones that Stacia mentioned. Does the other council members have any corrections? Chris?
More so a question and a request on motion number 9, Chief.
Well, we're just dealing with corrections to the minutes, so it's worded.
I'm not sure if it needs a correction or not.
Okay.
For motion number 9,
Mhm.
it says the bill is 26 net zero. Now, is that 26 net zero, or is it 26 net zero ready? The reason I asked that, Chief, is some months ago, a policy change to goal, net zero ready. And there's something study done, but I have a copy of that study.
Okay, well, that's a technical question. We'll have to ask the housing director.
It can just be a change. So two items, is it net zero ready or just net zero? And two, maybe noted that we should copy the study that we requested regarding implementation of a net
Okay,
zero ready.
just wait, Chris, so we can get Tom on the line here.
Can you get certification if it's just ready? Or does it have to be,
Well, there's a difference between the two.
well, it says certified here though. Does that mean it's ready? Or is that actually net zero?
So net zero is when you put your renewables, your solar, and everything else onto it. Net zero ready is you don't do the renewables, but you get it ready for the renewables.
How do you get the certification? That's what I'm asking.
Hi,
Do you
Tom,
get the
how are you?
certification for either or?
Good. We're dealing with the minutes in motion 10, where council approved MBQ emergency home repair. Pardon, 9. Moved by moved by Ted and second by Stacia to approve the submission of expression of interest package to CMHC for 26 net zero. Did you mean net zero ready?
No, we submitted for net zero. I don't know if they'll approve us for that big budget that we'll do net zero, but that's what the intent is.
Okay, Chris, do you want to clarify what your question is, please?
Yes, is the submission to build net zero ready homes or complete net zero?
Correct.
So it's complete net zero.
Yeah. The submissions were, I don't know what they'll approve. They generally, for section 95, they haven't approved what we've asked for the last 5 years. It's generally lower.
Does that answer your question?
Rather than making the mindset for them.
Yeah. So the question is simply, is a submission going to have the homes have the renewables, solar, et cetera, or is it simply net zero ready, which is not the renewables? Because there's two different standards.
Do you understand Chris's question?
The submission
Pass it over.
is to go up to 26 net zero homes.
Net
This is
zero.
only the first part. This is the expression of interest. If we get past this stage, then we'll have to send the application. It's the second stage of this application process.
Okay, any costing done on net zero? Okay. Okay.
It's generally about 25 or 30% more.
Okay, and a copy of the study, please. Tom, we had requested some time ago a study. It was put forward some months ago to change our policy to have all of our houses would at least be net zero. And then it was sent to staff for a study on potential costs, implications, etc. So it sounds like we're going that way. So does that mean it's going to be our policy? Okay. Ye- And CMHC can provide that funding to do this? Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. Does that answer your question, Chris?
Let's provide some additional information.
Okay. So we have the minutes then, we went through the corrections to the minutes. Is there a mover to accept the minutes as corrected?
I'll move.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second.
Ted?
I'll abstain, Chief.
Chris abstaining? Yep. Are you in favor, Josh? Okay, motion is carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes? We've dealt with Chris's concern. Is there any business, Ted? Josh? Stacia?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you, none. Just Chris's question The council meetings requiring a motion? No, these are the council meetings for May and June. My apologies. Take a look at your calendar for May the 10th. May the 10th is good. Go to May the 24th. That's good. June the 5th is good.
Asking for June 5th or 9th, chief.
And the 9th, it should be good.
Yeah, 5th or the 9th. I just
Oh, the
proposed
5th or the 9th. So
Yeah,
what-
5th or the 9th.
So what would council prefer? I prefer the 5th. The 5th is good with everybody? Chris, is the 5th good for you?
Yes.
Good for you, Stacia?
It is.
Okay,
Yes.
motion, it'll be the 5th then, and the 12th is good for everyone? Or the 16th? I prefer the 12th,
That's the local.
Yeah, that's for local.
if needed. The 12th or the 16th?
Oh,
Put up your hand if you're in favor of the 12th. 12 doesn't
12
work.
don't work.
The 16th will work for you? Okay, then the 16th good for everyone?
Say it again, chief, that date?
The 16th, it's a Friday, June 16th, Friday. So it'll be the 16th then, and the 28th for local. That's a Wednesday. Anyone have a conflict with the 28th? Seeing none, the 28th. Motion to accept the dates as provided. That's it.
I'll move to accept.
Moved by Stacia, who will second it? Seconded by Josh. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. We have a request for harvesting letters. I have checked with our local police. They didn't have any concerns. I did speak to Stephen though. I thought that the letter should read that they need permission to be on private property, so they don't just believe that this letter is a license to go anywhere and everywhere. So with council's permission, we will all sign these letters, but with that proviso that if they must seek permission to be on private property. Does council agree with that to amend the letters, that it says that?
At least what our ordinance says. Please clear the text letter and shed as part of the while you are harvesting, ensure that you have written permission where necessary for any activities taking place on private property to avoid trespassing charges.
That is not what my letter said. That's not what the letter says. It's in the folder here.
It's the one in the drive.
So why is the letter in the bullet binder different than the one that's on the drive?
There's actually 2 letters in the drive.
I have one for a Daniel Alexander Miles.
So there's a permission letter and a cover letter. So I think you want to look at the cover letter. And there, that's explicitly states the piece around permission. Seeking permission in advance.
All my letter says is that the Tyendinaga grants permission to these people to harvest for their personal use in our area.
Yeah, there's two letters. So Chief, you might have an additional letter there that perhaps you haven't looked at, because there is a permission letter and a cover letter. It's in the cover letter. Yeah, that's correct.
So that doesn't belong in there.
No, it will say this is the permission letter and this is the cover letter.
But it should be combined in one.
I think the book gets sent together.
That's my understanding. I think they are sent together.
Because I don't want somebody showing up at somebody's property with just this one letter saying, well, the chief gave you permission to go there. Here's the letter.
Put the cover letter on top. I mean, they're gonna be done.
If they carry both.
The question is if they carry both of them. I don't want that second letter to be abused either. I think it would be better if it was in one letter. Why do we need two letters granting permission?
I don't think it's two letters granting permission. One is a cover letter that goes to the individual to outline what the permission letter is and their expectations and their responsibilities. And then the actual permission letter is the shorter version. That's the one that they would carry on them.
Okay, motion to approve it. Sign these letters. Is there a mover to sign these letters?
I'm fine with this. I can move.
Moved by Stacia, who will second it?
Oh.
Ted?
I think to your point, Chief, I think it might be worthwhile to review our process, just to ensure that what's included in that permission letter is clear. So maybe we can task staff to review that process
I
to see
did
if there's
speak to
something that's missing.
I did speak to Stephen about it and recommended that there should be a police check to make sure, there's no issue that the police would have with any kind of criminal. Jason said both these are good. No concerns.
Could be the form.
Mhm.
Unless if you.
Yeah, I agree.
Stacia and Ted. The Iroquois Caucus General Assembly is going to be on April the 17th and 18th in Ottawa at the AFN boardroom at 55 Metcalf Street. And there's a copy of the agenda of what will be discussed there. And of course, the minutes will be approved, the record of decisions from September 2022. The Iroquois Caucus financial status update will be provided, along with the financial status 2020 to 2023, and the review and approval of the 23-24 budget. The Iroquois Caucus Coordinator Hiring Committee will provide an update. There'll be a presentation from Gus Nahawi on the J Border Alliance, update on meetings held in 2022 and 23. There'll be a preparation for the meeting with Minister Mark Miller, where they'll discuss the Algonquin claim, the meaty right assertion, and any other issues that might be identified. So if you have issues that you want to put on the caucus, just let Shu know and she'll forward them on to the coordinator, if the coordinator is hired yet. The meet with Minister Mark Miller at 4 o'clock on April the 17th. They're preparing for the national chief to be present and to discuss the relationship with the AFN. And the Iroquois Caucus basically said that the Iroquois Caucus speaks for itself and not through the AFN. They'll discuss the meaty rights assertion with the national chief and any other issues that are identified. They'll meet the national chief they're confirming her attendance by the looks of it. Iroquois Caucus, working group updates of the work plan, the criteria for harvesting issues, and outlining the harvesting summit. Albert Green hunting court case will be talked about. The IC communication plan, the Iroquois Caucus terms of reference, revisions for 2023, and status of invitations to Iroquois Caucus meetings, the FNQL, for Ghislaine Picard and Glenn Hare, the regional chief for Ontario, Iroquois Caucus strategy plan, and the Canada Pension Plan Working Group. Those are the agenda items for the Iroquois Caucus on April 17th and 18th. And if you have additional items, then just get a hold of Shu and she'll put them on the agenda for you, but along with the briefing of what it's about. Motions, so far, Stacia and I are approved to attend the caucus meeting. Is there any other council members that wish to attend? Yeah, I'll be going.
Yeah,
We're
next week,
approved to go.
17th and 18th.
We're approved to go.
Yeah, we did that in the months last.
Okay, motion to note to acknowledge receipt of this.
I can move.
Ted,
I think we did last. time.
yeah, it's already been in the approved council outside the territory. It's already in the minutes for Station I to
I
attend.
think we should confirm that though,
Oh.
as well, just to make sure that we do have it in the
I read it in the
minutes.
minutes.
I
Yeah,
believe it's there, but I just wanted to
the
make
ones
sure.
we just approved today. So, this morning.
It's in the minutes that we approved today.
Okay, it was there. I know, but this is the thing is that it was only, I think, you and I, Ted, that were at that meeting. It might be wise to have another motion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think that we did that so that there wouldn't be any delay with any bookings or things like that. But
Sure.
I agree, Josh.
It was a duly convened council meeting with a quorum present, so it's a
I'm
council.
not concerned.
But we can-
It's about approving your own
There's that.
Travel.
Okay.
So,
Mhm.
So,
I get.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay, we can have another motion then.
I can move through to.
No, so,
A second, okay. Okay, then we need to motion to accept these minutes. This agenda.
I think it's to acknowledge
To
the
acknowledge
the
receipt.
draft agenda, the draft IC agenda. And I can move to acknowledge that.
Ted had moved it before, and so
Oh,
Stacia.
sure. Yes, Ted.
Okay.
that's,
The motion's carried then. Council acknowledged. The home support multi-service accountability agreement. This is to get the funding. Motion to approve.
I'll move.
Who will second it? Josh? Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Bill 392, respecting First Nations, Inuit, and Métis children, youth family services. And this has already been deferred. So we'll just get a motion to defer. Well, it's already part of them accepting the motions, but we'll just note it was deferred.
I'm sorry, which one was deferred? No, this agenda item wasn't deferred.
It was to set aside time to talk to a lawyer to discuss Bill C and make an informed decision on the creation of a child family well-being law specific committee in collaboration with the Iroquois Caucus to develop a Haudenosaunee specific child family well-being law. So does council want to proceed with this then? The request is from the director. Engage a lawyer to, I guess, we should have our own vision of what our law would look like. It may be different in other communities. And I guess maybe this is an item that should be put on Iroquois caucus. So if we're going to work with other communities. My experience though, working with the other communities, nothing seems to gel. There's a long discussion about it, but it doesn't materialize into anything. So that happened with tobacco, it happened with border crossing, the Haudenosaunee card, it happened with some of the other issues that we had talked.
Could be value putting it on the agenda for next week, and then even if it's discussing, I'll call it a framework, where, like I said, each community has different specific attributes to the
Yeah.
community. But if there's an opportunity to kind of brainstorm and
Yeah.
possibly identify important things that need to be addressed in this, that maybe what they are different in each community, but if we can say, oh, don't forget this, that.
Yeah.
So,
If we're going to put it on the agenda, it would be good to have some vision of what our vision of framework would be to begin the discussion, rather than just putting it on the agenda. Then you have a discussion that seems to ramble all over the place. So,
Well, I think if anything, it could be a preliminary discussion where we can at least maybe perhaps see which other communities are engaging in the process of creating their own laws
okay,
around this under C92 first. And then I think at that time we can come back and maybe perhaps have a more fulsome conversation about C92 and our opportunities to create our own laws around that.
Yeah.
And maybe create the vision out of there. I don't think the vision's going to come out of the conversation with IC, but at least if we understand what others are doing, there might be we might have an opportunity to maybe learn from others and not recreate the wheel per se.
so one of the issues and the challenges in this whole child welfare law is that, I've always believed that a child needs to have a home to live in, a roof over their heads. Well, the child welfare settlement is going to provide $2 billion over a couple of years to address the housing needs. It's insufficient to address the need that's out there. The minister, Patty Hadju, acknowledged that there's not enough money to close the 2030 gap. It's $349 billion is needed to close the gap based on what's been identified by the AFN. But she said she deliberately, I guess, went through that exercise to sort of get a handle on what the need is to push for additional funding. But she said it really falls significantly short of what's needed. In the Ontario region alone, the study that was joint study done by the AFN and Indigenous Services Canada identified $60 billion was needed. In budget 22, there was $4 billion committed, and there's an additional $2 billion that was identified, but some of that money is already like a carry forward of the other year's money from budget 2022. So really, there's significant shortfalls in housing, and that will affect the community's ability to address the needs of children that are in need of housing. And so there has to be a lot more work pushed with the government on the housing file and the affordability question, because right now more children, I said it, without housing, children will continue to be apprehended and taken into care because they don't have the basic necessities of food and shelter. And so that's one of the issues that's going to require a very serious discussion. The Chiefs of Ontario, Doug Ford, did commit on January the 17th, after I presented to him that they would help with housing. But the Chiefs of Ontario need to have a discussion with the province yet to address what will Ontario do to help provide additional money to help First Nations achieve the housing needs of the people. I did mention both the number of children that were in need in Ontario. There's 119,000 that are in poverty through Ontario Works, as we know about. There could be others where their parents are on ODSP or working for. So that number is really much higher. And the more they're in severe poverty, of course, there's always the increased risk of being taken into care. And the affordability of as rent costs keep going up, and groceries keep going up, energy costs go up. Many people are falling through the cracks. That there's not sufficient income replacement to address the impact of all that. So there's growing poverty, and there's high need. Governments have ballooning deficits, and so that's the kind of political climate we're trying to work in. Stacia?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Okay. I was just going to say, I think from that meeting in January with the Premier, I think it was pretty clear the Premier's comments were that they would be not willing to entertain housing-related costs on territory, but we're willing to have a conversation about our members who are living off territory in the province of Ontario. So I'm not too sure what sort of work can be done in that aspect. In terms of Bill C-92 and the opportunity to look at creating laws, I think one of many areas of focus of this is to look at that priority to preventative care, and that preventative care piece explicitly states that socioeconomic factors will not be the basis for apprehension.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that creates, again, some opportunity for us to have a discussion about what that might look like. So I think in respect to this agenda item, it sounds like we might be in agreement to bring this to the IC, add this to the IC agenda to see what other communities are doing. I think the second part, maybe that's where we might want to wait until we have that discussion with IC communities, and then decide whether or not we'll engage more in a conversation with Mohawk Family Services, with some staff, with the Director of Community Wellbeing, and then decide what it is that we'd like to do in terms of next.
Well, what I
in terms
recall
of next
from
steps.
the Premier's comments, because the information I presented was what was about social welfare that were reimbursed to the province by Indigenous Services Canada, and it was specific to on reserve. I also mentioned that 1/3 of the housing based on the study that had been done were in need of urgent repairs, and that poverty for the 119,000 children were children on reserve. His answer was, where is the federal government in all of this? And what he said is that they would look at giving some money if the federal government had invested some money. And so that conversation still has to take place. They have reached out to the chiefs of Ontario. Minister Clark has sent a letter asking about this building houses in the green belt, basically. And I think we need to put out that the province has to address the housing needs of First Nations people on the reserve. It can't just be all about what the municipalities need, because we live in this province. The land, the traditional resources, the timber and the mining and minerals and all that generates like trillions of dollars in natural resource exports for the government. And we need to share that money to address the basic needs for housing and shelter for our people. And so I'm going to craft a response to his letter, pointing that out, to say the province has to come up with some money for on reserve. But the chief's office had been advised, Chris Hoyos advises that they were looking at, for the on reserve piece, who was going to be the lead ministry. Was it going to be the Ministry of Housing or the Minister of Indigenous Affairs?
So Chief, you raised the issue of chiefs and lobbying and on-reserve housing needs. Has the AFN of the chiefs started any kind of lobby effort
They've lobbied during the pre-budget submissions. They've
Okay.
lobbied, and there's additional $2 billion.
Right,
But there's 139 billion needed.
yeah, but I'm talking about in particular renovations, repairs, and what are the chiefs doing to get funding restored to the RAP program?
I've raised that issue well, I suggested that perhaps with the repair part of it, that maybe the province could provide some money to enrich the RAP program. Maybe the two governments could go together to fund that, to create more money for RAP, but we haven't heard back yet.
Okay. But getting back to CMHC, who is typically the 100% provider of RAP funding, why are they being let off the hook and we're providing repairs to our community? Every day we need ramps, we need this, and
Well,
my
they're
phone
not-
rings all the
I
time
would-
from
I
elders
would-
needing help, like we can't give them no help.
I wouldn't say there was, they were let off the hook. Well, first of all, we have one issue that we still have, Tom, I guess, has submitted the figures for the one outstanding RAP. We're waiting to hear back from FIRM, whether they'll accept that proposal to clear that issue up. And if they will, then we're good to apply for programs. But again, I think the budget last year was $1.6 million overall for Ontario. And 40% of that was allocated to First Nations and the communities in the South. So what I think we need to do is determine for CMHC purposes, what are these communities in the South and what are their on-reserve population numbers look like, and the same with the North, to see where, first of all, is there an equitable distribution of funding between the North and the South. I have always had that concern. I think that there's some analysis has to be done there. But again, the $1.6 million is not enough, a lot of money for 133 First Nations. And the need is great, like especially on where the study identified that 1/3 of the housing stock on reserves are in need of major repairs. And these major repairs can cost $100,000 or more. So I mean, the RAP is not going to go very far in terms of addressing the need, and neither is the housing allocation going to go very far addressing the need. And our wait list, I think, was up to 120 now. It's been reduced a bit, but there still is 120 people on the wait list. And some of these people have been on there for years.
So there's two different issues. One is getting the program back here, but the other issue is the decreased funding at a provincial, national level. We need the chiefs to lobby and say it's unacceptable. You know, if we got this much 2 years ago and our community is growing and our houses are aging, we need more money, not less money.
That's why I need to go and lobby, and so the councillor should be there too.
But we should not have the AFN though and the chiefs of Ontario as
They
opposed
are,
to just
they are
you?
beating the drum about the need for houses. As a matter of fact, I did that when during the Chiefs caucus, when the minister came to meet with the chiefs last week. So she's quite aware of that the need, there's insufficient funds both at CMHC as well as the department.
So that you met with Minister Miller or Patty?
Patty had you.
Okay,
So
so
she's responsible for funding.
may I suggest that we authorize Chief Miracle to lobby CMHC's minister? Because it's their.
Well,
it's
they
their-
have a president, Michelle Dory is the president of the CMHC.
Yes, so I think if it's a CMHC program, we're probably better served to lobby CMHC versus Indigenous Services Canada to go after CMHC.
Yeah. But anyway, there's a lot of money for people who can afford loans. That program is working well, but the social program is seriously lacking funding to address the needs that are there. And Sam gets the only fund that she has to address it locally is that transitional support funding, which is around $24,000 or $25,000 a year, and that has to do with that's the annual budget. Some smaller First Nations communities get $400,000. We addressed that with the Deputy Minister, the unfairness of that. But what they're still stuck in is this 2010 formula for allocation to communities. So whatever was spent in 2010 became the ongoing permanent formula going forward. And what they used to do at the Ontario Works program previously is they would urge community members to go and get a loan from housing to fix their houses, supposedly to not create dependency. And actually, you know, to me, it's a bad idea to give somebody a loan that they can't afford to pay back. If they need social help, then social help should be provided, because you're not helping that person if you're going to give them a loan that they can't afford to pay and then repossess their house.
Well, Chief, I'd like to table a motion.
And then you wind up with arrears, and then you wind up with audit observations that you need to do more to collect the money that's owed to the bank.
I'd like to table a motion, Chief, authorizing Chief Miracle to lobby CMHC's minister, president, etc., wherever it's required, in regards to getting our previous RAP funding, and not just us, but all First Nations.
And actually, the person that we should be meeting to with is Patrick. I think his name is Patrick Sackville. He's the Prime Minister, his Premier Ford's.
Yeah, and now you're back to the province. I'm saying we shouldn't let CMHC off the hook, and I want to table a motion, Chief, authorizing Chief Miracle.
But Premier Ford also committed that they would attend a joint meeting with the federal government to discuss, and that's where that CMHC proposal that I suggested to the Chiefs Committee on Housing for Ontario, that the province add some money to that program to help address the social need.
Okay, well, that's fine. I still want to table a motion, Chief,
Okay, you can.
authorizing Chief Miracle to lobby CMHC's
Okay.
minister.
Okay, is there a
Please start
seconder
with
for that
funding.
motion?
Would you like to be part of that as well as the portfolio holder for housing?
Yep.
Yeah.
So maybe one of
then-
us should maybe make that motion instead.
Sure.
Yeah, so, as it relates to the item on the agenda that we're on right now, we can just deal with that and then, because that child welfare. So, for Bill C-92, I can make a motion that we place it on the Intercog office agenda for discussion. And then things like this, I think are gonna be what comes up. So if I can make a motion that be put on the Intercog office for discussion, and it says, when is it going to be with the lawyer? I would say after information is assessed from the discussion at your office.
Yeah.
If I can make that motion.
Yeah, I was just saying that there's not just children in need, there's seniors in need, there's anybody that's on low
It's
income.
all connected. It's all,
It's all low
Correct.
income.
if a kid's staying with grandma whose roof is leaking in the cave, right, there's all those different factors, child welfare and how it affects, and housing is obviously a big one. So for that, make that motion.
Okay, he's
Yeah.
got a
So
motion.
just clear, okay, well, just, I will pull my motion back if you're saying that you're going to have Chief lobby all the chiefs to,
Just more so,
Okay.
so I'll get this one if that's okay.
Yeah, okay,
And then
so,
I plan on tabling a motion for you guys to participate in engaging series.
okay, so then with a motion then is to refer this to the Iroquois caucus.
Would say to propose to be added to the Intercog caucus agenda for next week. And then, once the information from that discussion is assessed, we potentially schedule a meeting with the board.
Okay,
I can second that.
And on the subject of child,
Okay.
Yep, makes sense.
Josh and then Stacia.
I think it would be beneficial to have a meeting with just their staff as well, prior to any lawyer meeting or whatever.
Oh.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Discussing the data from
Yeah,
your
I
website.
see, yeah. And then we'll see what stuff
Consider,
can
yeah.
come out of that. Makes sense.
Maybe Susie could even, zoom in for that portion of the.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, is there, so that's just refer it to the Iroquois caucus, then have the discussion after the council with the staff after the Iroquois caucus meeting. Is there? it's a little one.
Invite Susan Barber stuff and check that part. Caucus as well. From a technical standpoint.
Okay, noted.
And on the heels of that,
Okay, let's get it that motion voted on first. Is anybody opposed to that motion? Anybody opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Now, the next motion,
so I would say, based on the many challenges that involve child welfare, that, and the fact that CMHC has had their funding window, that both Chief Miracle and Councilor Christopher, the portfolio holder, engaged CMHC to revive the program. Perhaps share why it's important that adequate funding be accessible for not just our community, but for all nations.
yeah. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Also,
Second by Ted, motion is carried. Now, what I'm going to need, Angela, from Chris, if you could get it for me, is the number of RAP applications that could not be funded because of the lack of money, and what the ask was, how much ask could be funded. So hopefully our staff are keeping stats on that. And I've asked Trim to keep stats on that to inform the Chiefs Committee on Housing and Infrastructure. Likewise, when Indigenous Services Canada has calls for proposals. I've asked their housing director to keep report to the Chiefs Committee on Housing the number of applications that couldn't be funded because of the lack of money, and how many applications, and what's the global amount of money for the ask. Then we have some information to lobby with. So far, they just tell you how much they approved. They don't tell you how much they couldn't approve because of the lack of funding. So the next item is number 9, the ISC amendment number 38. And there is for child and family services, $406,335.46. For prevention, $2,698,750. Motion to approve the agreement.
I move. It's the amendment.
Who will second that? Josh? Sign, please. The next item is to approve Wilkinson to be the auditor for the Mohawk State Committee for the audit of March 31st, 2023. And there have been some, they're the least expensive.
Chief, I'd like to make a motion to defer this. We go have discussion. I'd like to set up Angela, maybe set up a call with the auditors. I'd like to have a bit discussion with them.
We should have had our auditor appointed by now.
Well, if we could set that up ASAP, today would be great. There's a few things I'd like to know before we appoint. We don't the same path.
Do you want to defer this?
Just briefly, maybe we can set up a call this morning. These guys are fair with that.
You want to call with the,
I'd like to call them ASAP, find out where.
well, I'll see if John Torres is available.
Well, yeah, wait, these guys are okay. And maybe,
Chief, maybe perhaps one of the staff can email to see if
Yeah,
they're available,
see
so
when they're available.
we can still proceed with our meeting.
Okay, do you want to send John Stewart an email to ask is he available to talk to council this morning?
Actually, I'm gonna send it to see.
Okay.
I'm a little confused with even the paper we've got here. We got 2021 votes. Where's the 21, 22 votes?
Yeah, and I don't think that the rationale, I don't think the rationale is necessarily based on it being cheaper. I think it's that they know us and we've worked with them for quite some time, but yeah, it might be, yeah, I mean, if that,
Your questions of sensitive nature.
yeah, that's what's,
Could be.
Could be.
That.
so maybe,
What's the average for that? Check it.
Text or sort of email and see something like that.
Can you email your questions to Angela, perhaps, in that motion for everyone?
mhm.
I mean, we have a break and I can
Yeah, I'm a supporter too now.
Okay, let's take a break then.
I don't know if my email's like,
No, let's take a break for 5 minutes.
I can just ask you. All right.
So I guess we're moving to number 11.
Sorry?
I think we're moving to number 11 then.
The Bank of Montreal mortgage report. Sorry, Shelley, I thought it was on. Okay. So we have the report from David Soulier. He's not here today because he's not feeling well. It's the housing loan guaranteed loan report. We have 116 mortgages as of February the 28th this year. Total balance is of $16,774,406.75. And with the report, in the old mortgage program, the first one was just account with the first program that was implemented a number of years ago. There are 9 mortgages. One was paid out completely. The balance in that is $299,668.24 as of January this year. And in the new Bank of Montreal loan guarantee program of 23 million, there's $16,479,140.07, and there's just one mortgage in arrears for $2,900. So it's working very well. Motion to acknowledge the report.
Chief, I'll move to acknowledge the report. And could I also at this time have a copy of the letter that we sent to BMO? I think it was last fall.
The request will be noted in the minutes.
So it's the letter that we had instructed that staff sent to BMO last fall. It was regarding the letters that they send to people, say you're approved pending this, this, and this. And the BMO letters are different from MBQ letters in regards to BMO focused on financial information needed to proceed. But we need to tell BMO, and we said this back in the fall, BMO needs to know, oh no, if you're approved, you got to provide this, this, and this. Because we had problems with setbacks last year with the person borrowing.
Okay.
And going into another building season, I don't want to see those problems happen again. So I need to see a copy of that.
Okay, so
BMO is aware.
So the client information form, it sounds like it has to be updated to include all of that?
I just like to see a copy of the letter that we sent to BMO saying, look,
Okay,
we need technical stuff.
See that I don't know if the bank will get involved, Chris, with that level of community administration.
But they don't, no, they need to know what's required internally. See, BMO says, okay, yeah, you meet our financial stuff, go ahead, off the races. So somebody applies off the races. Oh, no, there's a thing called setbacks, there's a thing called inspections and building plans approval. So we said we want a letter sent to BMO so that we don't have this problem again where somebody's building a house
Well,
not on their
that should-
property.
That shouldn't happen because.
I know, but
Because
if
they're
this letter
supposed to
goes.
they're supposed to attend a meeting with the housing director before they roll out the mortgage money, so that's how they go through all of that with them. That's my understanding of how it's being administered, but if it's not working, or I know there was one mix-up because of COVID, that I guess they weren't having it, Zoom calls or something with them, but I don't know when these calls took place, because the staff deal with all that. But that's what I'm told, that the staff, before they start to roll out the loan, they have to attend a meeting with the housing staff to go over all of the policies.
Yes, but at BMO's end, when BMO is approving a loan, BMO says you're approved based upon this, this, and this. But based upon the letters I've seen, BMO was not aware of the fact that if I'm approved, I gotta submit this, this, and this to housing before I access my money. So
Okay.
we said last year, let's make sure that people are well aware.
Okay, I agree with that. Is Tom here?
Or just, no, just an action item. I just need a copy of the letter, chief.
Okay,
Sent
an
to
action
BMO.
item, a copy of the letter.
Copy of the letter that we sent to BMO regarding what those applying have to submit in order to receive approval. And again, the past stuff was all financial. BMO needs to know there's technical requirements. And we were supposed to send a letter. So can I have a
Technical
copy of
plans.
that letter, Ange? Make that action item?
Has that happened, Angela?
As well.
What Chris is speaking about, the action
Would
plan?
have to follow up.
Just gonna, okay. Thank you, chief.
Okay, that'll be noted as an action item. In the minutes. Have you got it, Shelley? Okay, thank you. Motion then to acknowledge the financial report.
I did move it, chief.
Chris, will second it.
I can second it. I got to follow up once.
Is there any opposition to accepting acknowledgement of the report concerning the Bank of Montreal Guaranteed Loan Program? Seeing none. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, Josh?
Just a question, what came about with the RBC exploration for a program? And if there's no answer today, can I have an update on that at our next meeting?
Be better to give you an update, but I do know that they were working on the agreement,
Okay,
like the paperwork.
so
It's the last I.
I guess a formal update at the next meeting would be appreciated.
That'll be an action item then, noted in the minutes, Shelley. Josh? And if you could note in the minutes who's asking for the action item, so if there's any, they need clarity, the staff needed clarity, they knew to call. Thank you. The Mohawk Immersion Funding Agreement. And it's requesting that you approve option 1. Option 1 is to the funding agreement, I think, is $375,000.
So as this is
The
approving,
source is ISC, the funding is ISC.
so as this is approving financials for TTO, I'll declare a conflict as my partner is the finance clerk for TTO.
Okay. Does council agree to approve the Mohawk Immersion Program funding agreement?
I agree
Option
to approve it as long as we're using the name of the organization, Jijion Het Onkwena, in place of the Mohawk Immersion Program.
Okay,
Since we're,
TTO. then.
we've declared that, that the language that, that the Gangeha language is our language, I think it would we'd be best served to start using it where and when we can. So I can move.
Jijun Het Onkawan.
Yeah, Onkwana. There we go. Jijion Het Onkwana.
I just said TTO in the interest of time, that's all.
Oh, I'm okay with that too. It's I think it's in our documents.
Yeah.
The on the briefing note, it just states the Mohawk Immersion
Mhm.
Program. So if one
agree.
was reading it, they might be confused.
Well,
Absolutely.
just that there's hardly anybody who speaks Mohawk on the table. They may not know what that is, but they know what the Mohawk Immersion Program is.
But we know that they exist as an organization. So.
Okay.
Did you need a seconder for that, chief?
Yes, we do.
Okay, I'll second it.
Moved by Station, seconded by Chris. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried, and this is being funded by Indigenous Services Canada, and it looks like it's $152,000. It's $152,030.
I just want to
And Josh
Yeah.
is registering,
Have my
not
declaration
abstaining
noted.
from voting due to conflict. That motion is carried. The TTO Language Culture Agreement. Hut. The only thing that I would change here is it's got via Casino Rama. There is no longer any Casino Rama. It's the 2008 OLG Revenue Sharing Agreement.
Yes, I agree with that.
Hut Ogowana. And this is 375,000 from the OLG funds. Is there a motion to approve it?
I can move.
Moved by Stacia, is there a seconder?
I'll second you.
Second by Ted.
Mm.
Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. The next item, number 14, is the transfer of investments from the BMO equity portfolio and from the fixed income portfolio, 75%, and to the bank account, 43 10 47 273. This is the bank's bank account at the bank. So Casino Ram again, so that OLG can pay back funds used by the general bank account to do physical bank transfers to clear due and from in the books. Now, normally what we do is we don't usually have just a number. We usually have a list of what the money, the breakdown of what programs are going to be
That's
the money's going to be used for accountability purposes. There's usually a council resolution. So I don't think this should be approved today without that report on what makes up where does this $3.6 million go.
I agree.
Agreed.
So I would ask council to defer this request until, but then it might delay the audit. Can we get that today, Angela?
Oh, no, I have to send it off to Cecil.
So let's just set that aside, and Angela, I'd ask you to ask Cecil, she can give us the breakdown of that so we can pass the MCR. Which programs is it covering? That's the normal process, that there's an MCR. So that one will be put on hold if council agrees.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, you may want to change the name of that bank account too, then chief. Go call
Yeah,
Casino
and
Ram.
the other thing, it's the bank.
That's what brings in confusion.
It should be Casino Ram bank account by the BMO the MBQ general bank account. Legal invoices. So we have legal invoices from Alan Pratt, $8,739, and that relates to the Culberson That's the year-to-date. So the invoice is for $301.50.
No, you're right the first time.
Yeah,
Chief.
you were right the first time. The $8,739.
So
It was for
public-
help.
Invoice 6165.
in the public agenda.
It's just the amounts.
Just the
that were
amounts.
proven.
Yeah, and we can discuss after
Yeah.
in private.
Yeah, the amount. Okay, I see there's two invoices here.
Just put on the agenda page, some.
So the amount then is for $8,739. And there is, year-to-date is $66,564.27. Invoice number 6166, Turton Pen loss of use, $301.50. And then the Miller Thompson invoice is $4,130.72.
So when you're saying year to date, I don't think you mean
And
January.
that relates to the Forest Island.
66,000?
Is council approved to pay these invoices? If so, I need a motion.
I'll move.
Ted? Is there a seconder?
Chief, was the invoice from Miller Thompson attached?
Well, I presume so. The staff were directed to do some work, and so I presume that's why we got an invoice.
It is. It's in our private agenda. It's in our private agenda.
It's just
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is just the
We
amounts.
decided to find ways to to divide certain things up so confidential information isn't in our public portion.
what the funds are.
But the funds and the amounts that we pay are public. Yeah, the funds and the amounts that we pay for the invoices are public, but the details of the work could
Yeah,
be confidential in certain situations.
But Miller Thompson, when the tax taken off of that?
Okay, so it's been moved by Ted to pay these legal invoices. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Well, just, for the Miller Thompson one, the amount on for approval includes tax. It says 3655.50 and then another 475 to get to 4130. So I would approve the 3655.50. Get that, chief?
Yeah, I noted here 36.
55.50 cents.
Got it. So that motion then is motion to pay, but the Miller Thompson, we won't be paying the HST. So the amount paid for that invoice will be $3,655.50. Is that part of your motion, Ted?
Yeah. No,
Is there a seconder for that motion? Moved by Josh. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Hearing none? Motion's carried. The LTC funding agreements, there's two of them. One is for repairs at the childcare center. And this is the contribution agreement.
My folder's empty.
Yeah, I don't have these agreements to review.
They were sent around, I sent them around last week when I received them from Sam.
They're not in the drive for council.
I'm behind on my email, so I
I can tell you the amount is $187,050. The LTC hereby agrees to provide funding to the center in the aggregate amount of $187,050 for the 12-month period commencing the effective date, the annual contribution, April 1st to March 31st, subject to deduction or cancellation set out herein for the purposes of repairs to the child care center for repairs and painting, outdoor lighting, eaves trough, drainage, outdoor storage, blinds, alarm system, rubber servicing, play yard, and large cubby area, $162,500, and needs assessment, $25,000.
And I can tell you that I do know that proposal was submitted to Sam months ago, so that
Okay.
must be the agreement. It must have been approved with the agreement, but I'm sorry, I didn't look, I did
So-
go through the email.
So has this had staff review? Have staff?
The staff
review?
is the one that actually put the proposal in.
I understand. Have staff looked at the agreement?
She sent it to me because she
No,
said she wasn't
Kelly
hearing
said she
back
sent
from
it to me,
anybody.
so I would
Okay.
say no.
Sam sent them to me and called me about it because she said she didn't get any information back from anyone. That's why I have them.
I don't know who she sent them to. so-
I don't know either. I would presume it might be yourself or David or somebody at the daycare. Anyway, the work is needed there. I'd recommend that council approve it. to
Well, you
get
have
the work
council
done.
next week, right?
We do.
I can look at them. I'm behind my emails and I just didn't get to them. Chris can attest to that because he sent me something even before that. and I didn't
Okay,
get to it.
so does council want to defer these agreements until next week?
I'd prefer to have staff have a chance to review that.
Okay.
I think that would be good. So I can move to defer that.
I presume if they sent in proposals, those proposals were written by the staff. Is that right?
Correct. I signed off on a proposal going in for repairs to the daycare.
And does that seem to cover off what all they asked for?
I'd have to go back and double check.
Okay, then.
I'm sorry.
So then those two childcare funding agreements will be deferred because for staff report and recommendation to council to sign.
Chief, could it be noted I will declare a conflict?
Okay, Chris has declared it. Well, it's just deferred anyway. There's no
Yeah, but
decision.
even when it comes back, I'll be declaring a conflict. They're a
Okay.
client from time to time
Okay. And why is that?
because I work for them from time to time.
Okay. So the structural changes on 18th has been deferred to allow Stacia a chance to follow with the CAO and the director. Likewise, with the mapping exercise, it's been deferred for a staff recommendation. Now, the ISET agreement, Steve Williams, it's $1.7 million that runs our employment training programs. And we get that money from ALTC. Apparently, Sam has been waiting for someone to identify dates that council is available for, so Steve Williams can come and present the new ISET agreement. And so I followed up with Sam this morning to find out what it was about, and she told me that Steve Williams would like some dates. So I'd like the council to identify a couple of dates that they could meet with him. So Steve can make his presentation, we can sign whatever agreement is necessary to get the funding here to run that program. I don't know, was it me? I would presume it would be Lisa because that's her program.
If we could maybe even formalize something like that, where obviously there's things that are specific to the chief, to Ted, to Chris, to me, but for ALFTC, or just to have like, you said Lisa, CC'd on all those.
I presume it's Lisa because she.
Yeah, just that way there in case if I'm behind on my emails, but at least Lisa knows what's up. If Ted's behind on his emails, at least like.
Anyway, I asked Sam to send me the emails so I can let council know what it's about.
Yeah. It's just those channels of information, like defining those.
So the request is simply to identify a couple of dates. So take out your calendars. Let's give her a couple of dates and get it done.
We just approved the May meeting, right? So what's the first May meeting and when's the first May meeting?
A long time.
It was the 5th.
I think it was the 5th.
Oh,
I
that
feel
was
like
the
it was the 5th
How about May the 5th?
for regular.
I propose May the 5th.
June, maybe it's May 10th.
Here. And that would be during the daytime?
I would say, yeah, we're going to be here for
Well,
our
we can
meeting.
nail it down right now. I'll give Steve Williams a call.
Yeah, I'd just shoot him a couple. I'd email him maybe our next two.
You can email him and then get back.
What do
May
you-
10th and the 24th are the two next regular.
Would you
meetings.
prefer local? You said something about evening. Would you prefer that?
He'll make himself
Because
available.
we got 2 dates there for that as well in May.
But that does delay funding to pay the staff to run that program. That's Karen and Ken
It
Sparks.
does delay the funding?
And funding for their take applications from clients. It's a service program.
So when was it supposed to be approved then? By?
Well, I think the sooner the better we meet with him. To
So you
find
don't
out.
know them, if it's delaying anything?
I don't know if there's anything new until he presents it.
The other option is April 26th, which is our next local meeting.
I would send Steve Williams an email to see if he's available April 26th or May 5th,
May 10th.
May 10th.
Yeah, I know we got the.
And
May and
if
June
there's any
dates.
delay in there, Angela, let us know too as well, in case we have to come together sooner.
Yeah, clarification on that would be appreciated.
Because we need,
Yeah,
you can't get the funding unless you sign an agreement.
Understand.
Maybe include the director of community services on that one as well, just to get her input on that.
But she said she had sent you some emails. Shelley, did you get emails from Sam? No? Okay. So I asked her to send me an email, so I still haven't received what it was about, which Steve Williams wanted to present to council. Okay. The only other thing that I have, I just found out yesterday, Bishop Olton is retiring as the bishop for the Diocese of Ontario at the end of April, and his last service will be at Christchurch, His Majesty's Chapel Royal, the Mohawk. He is the bishop, that's the bishop ordinary for for the chapel. And so they would like to use the Queen Anne silver for that service and the King George the Sixth and Fifth prayer books for the service. So we need a resolution signed by council.
Motion.
Who will second it?
I'll second.
Ted, anyone opposed? Good. We can get that resolution signed. And also, did all the council get in to sign the other resolution? Because I had to have David make arrangements for the banks so we could get it for the Easter service, but they were waiting for council to sign the last I checked on. The one for last week. I told him I'd bring it when he brought the silver back to the bank. Maybe that's out on reception.
I think it's all signed.
Okay. So anyway, that's taken care of. So that resolution motion is carried. The other thing that I sent you just an email this morning. They've been waiting for quite a while. The Owego, he's a fireman there, but they want to use the name. I think it's Owego Tribe or something like that. Just hold on. He's been waiting for quite some time to get a response from council, and he's called and the council said to send it over to Lisa to get a response, and I thought Lisa had sent something back saying she didn't have any concern, but I can't. Can we check that out? Can you check to see if Lisa sent an email back concerning that, Nancy? So the
Chief, which item you want?
they want to use the name Owego Indians, and it says here, so he sent the first email back on February the 16th. Good day, Chief Don. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak to me 2 weeks ago. I very much enjoyed our conversation. As discussed, New York State is now requiring us to gain approval from a recognized tribe to continue use of the school name, Owego Indians, so that they've been calling it that all along. Our symbol appealed to the Great Spirit by Cyrus Edwin Dallins. I've copied our school board president and school superintendent on this email. As you know, we have a long-standing history with the Native American community, which we wish to continue, and it would be an honor to have your tribe's approval. I'm attaching a recent picture of Sasanaloft's monument and our high school lobby featuring the appeal to the Great Spirit statue that became our school symbol in 1927. Perhaps you and your tribal members may be able to visit our community again as Susanalov's memorial was restored. A formal request from our school district is attached for your consideration. Favorable consideration by your tribal council is very much appreciated. I'm also interested in learning more about your cultural center and will send additional email on that under separate cover. So Pat Gavin, he's a fireman over there and he's involved with their civic affairs. They just want to continue using the name Owego Indians for their school. And apparently they spoke to an elder and it sounded like it might have been from Akwesasne who didn't have a concern with it. So does council agree or disagree with using the name Owego Indians to continue using that for their school? He said it was meant to honor our people because of this Susana Lofts grave marker being there at the highest elevation in their community. She went down in the 1800s to raise money for to get Bibles or prayer books or something in the Mohawk language, and there was a train accident and she was killed, a young woman, and a judge buried her there in their cemetery in their plot, and so they have a great big high monument. I sent that a photograph of that to the council in previous emails. So is council agreeable to their request to continue using that name? It's something that's required by the New York State government.
Chief, do you have a recommendation on this?
I don't have a problem with it. You know, they still call people Indians in the States, so I don't have a problem. I don't think it was meant as just to respect our people. Because one of our members had the highest amount of respect there.
Chief,
Yes.
I would like to have the update from community services because I do know that this was sitting there, and I think that there were some staff that were assigned to provide some guidance on this. I'm a little uncomfortable making that kind of decision, considering that we have other communities that may have a different perspective that are relatives. So whether that's Akwesasne, whether that's Ganawage, maybe this might be appropriate to put on the IC agenda for discussion.
Anyway, they had to get back to the New York State government, I guess, by the middle of April. That's why he's been following up on it, and otherwise they may have to stop using that name.
Well,
So the lack of a response is really creating other issues there.
respectfully, you're saying that if there's not an endorsement by
They
other
can't-
tribes,
They need another tribe, and he thought he would write to us simply because one of our members was killed there and has this monument erected there in her memory.
so are they saying that if the name of the school changes, they're going to take down the monument?
No. Don't
So
do
that would stay.
This is about.
So the history,
Owego and
so
Owego
this,
Indians.
so the significance of the fact that somebody, a member here
It's
passed away
because-
down there,
It's because they
wouldn't be lost.
Yeah, it's because they had been using it since 1927,
Yeah.
and they want to continue using it. It's nothing new. They just want to
No.
continue using it.
I don't think there's any new names, new team names that are coming up with Indians. A lot of them are mostly long-standing, Redskins, all that.
Yeah,
But
this is not. This is just Indian, and that's
yeah.
Perhaps we make a you send a letter saying it's probably more appropriate for our brothers and sisters south of the border to make that kind of decision on our community?
No, I never said that.
Oh, okay.
I actually didn't say that.
I
No, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, we
Well,
ask them.
We've had conversations like this in different circles, education circles, about, and my position has always been why does the school board want you to change it? What's their reasoning?
Yeah, I guess because it's become a politically sensitive issue.
Why has it become politically sensitive?
Well, that's probably why the New York government has told them with the use of any of these names, they need the permission of at least a tribe to say it's okay.
Yeah.
So it's just really, they're asking us to satisfy a requirement of the education department of the New York government.
That sounds like a token gesture.
That's
No, because they just started using it to honor our people back in 1927, and so I guess they reviewed all that. Maybe there have been complaints about using Indian names like Redskins, as
Yeah,
you mentioned,
yeah.
And so anybody that where the word Indian appears, they have to go and get permission now.
But if and I don't want to get on too much of a sidebar on this, but if I say, Ted, that hat you wear is disrespectful, you have to take that off. If Ted takes that hat off, it's because I told him to. Maybe Ted doesn't connect with the disrespect. Maybe Ted doesn't connect with the actual thing. If I tell somebody to not do something, shouldn't they have the information and be like, you know what? Now that I know that this, maybe it's not appropriate that our school name be. Maybe that kid that sees the people in the crowd doing Wahoo chants at the basketball game, who happens to be a Mohawk, doesn't really like that. Now that I understand there's a connection beyond a historical one from somebody that passed away 100 years ago, like you said. So
Back in over 100 years.
I think whether it's Iroquois caucus, whether it's Tyendinaga Mohawk territory, we can always provide insight as to what certain team names what impacts they could have. At the end of the day, I feel like it's not up to me to make that decision for them.
Yeah.
Agreed.
If you want to, if you're being pushed and we can chalk it up as political correctness, and that sometimes dismisses things as being less than needed. But they're reaching out saying, "Are you cool with it?" No comment. Are you cool with it? Right?
Well,
They're cool with it.
I don't have an issue with it, really.
Oh.
It was done to honor the history of that member of our Mohawk community who was killed there doing Christian work, and she was honored, and so they named their school the Uyghur Indians, and just to celebrate their close relationship and respect for our people. That's why it was done. But
Is that how it's still being?
Well, the other thing is, the United States and Canada have an awful lot of people that are immigrating to this country, that in the U.S. And some of those people that are immigrating, well, now recently in Canada has come system of becoming a Canadian citizen. They have to their citizenship. They have to honor the Aboriginal and treaty rights. They don't have a clue with that. Some of them don't even know that they're the indigenous people, the original people of the land, the Indians, as we were called, are different than the East Indians from India. Some of them don't know the difference, and to me, I think it's another statement that there were other people here.
Yeah, and I would like to think that people that are maybe unfamiliar with that could learn, could educate themselves on these historical plaques, outlining that, and less with JV football teams named after Indians.
So there, because of this Susana Loft monument, their community, celebrate that.
Yeah.
And probably have since.
I wonder if it's ever been weaponized.
I don't think so.
I wonder if it's ever been used to discriminate.
Not that I'm aware of.
Like, I'll give you a quick example because we've got to move on. The Syracuse University used to be called the Syracuse Orangemen. Their mascot was an Indian with orange paint on, about the color of Ted's shirt, and eventually that seemed to be less kosher. So now they're called the Syracuse Orange, and their mascot is a great big orange, Otto the Orange.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that things were done necessarily with malicious intent or whatever, but it's okay for things to evolve and for historical, again, this has been our tradition for 100 years. Fantastic. Doesn't mean it's got to be the next 100 years.
Yeah.
So with these things, I'm glad there's a conversation, but don't just chalk it up to check yes or no if you approve ours.
So my understanding from the conversation, they had to get back to the New York government by the middle of April, otherwise they have to stop, change the name of that school.
I would ask them to do what they think is right. In keeping in mind that you're not just talking about historical figures.
Actually, what they need the New York, they think it's right to continue using it because that's what the people there are used to. And they did it out of respect for our people, but it's the New York government that requires them to have permission to use that name from at least one tribe. And because she was from here, or believed to be from here, That's
But the
why
name
they're
of the
asking
school
us.
is not called Sussin Loft School. It is called the Owego Indian School.
Well, we could call it, suggest maybe they call it Susana Love School.
Perhaps. Maybe that's more appropriate.
It would be the homage they wish to seek.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's issues with naming things after people as well, too.
Because one thing I don't want people to get sight of, especially with it's such a large immigrating population now in Canada, to lose sight of the fact that there were people that were called Indians here before anybody else. And the more you remove it out of the public consciousness through any visible sign, the more people are going to shift to not know that. You're making it more and more obscure. Because I mean, their focus is on their financial well-being and their survival and how they participate in the economy. It's not about these other things. And even a lot of people that we have been several generations of in this country know nothing about it. And that's one of the recommendations of the TRC, that Canadians who live here know more about it.
But I don't think there's a recommendation in the TRC that says more sports teams should be named
No,
the Indians.
but I
The
think the
Cleveland
more that we
Indians,
get,
yeah, or the Braves.
people learn from seeing. The
Yeah,
same
oh,
thing
yeah.
with our language. They learn from
Absolutely.
seeing and hearing. If they don't see and they don't hear, they don't know.
Exactly.
Chief, is council suggesting this go to AIAI? I heard
No.
that.
I think I said Iroquois Caucus.
And if that's the case,
It's
if
not.
we're not sending a letter here, why are we going to talk about it at great length? If we're not going to take any action or send a letter?
Well, really, they're asking us because this Susna law
Yeah,
that
I know.
generates all of this.
I know,
you
but
know,
if we're
respect for
sending it to
Indians.
somebody else, shouldn't we just defer to AIAI and move on?
I said Iroquois Caucus.
A caucus?
Not.
You
Sure.
can do that.
Very distinct.
But by the middle of April, I don't think it's going to make much difference because they don't have permission from anybody yet. Other than he mentioned there was one elder, I think, from Umpasasne, that he asked him, and he said it was okay. That's in one of the emails. So you could just tell him to rely on what the elder said. Can you look up that email that there was an elder that they had consulted? He mentioned it in one of the emails. I forget the name. But I would like to give him some kind of response. I don't have a response to give him other than, if you think it's okay, well, then continue using it. Tom Porter. So Tom Porter.
Oh, it wasn't the approval for this. It
What
was
is, what,
for something different.
oh, something different?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the name of the tribe again?
Owego Indians is what they're calling it.
So was that a,
That's
that
the
a
name of
tribe?
this. They call the school the Owego
Is that a
Indians.
tribe though? Owego?
That's the place. Owego is the
So
place.
did they ask those folks right there?
Well, that's what their school is called, the Owego. Owego
So if their
Indians.
tribe doesn't have an issue with it,
No, there's no tribe. They call
There's
their
no
school.
Owego
They
tribe?
call their school the Owego Indians.
My thoughts would be that my recommendation would be that you call your school, refer to your school as respectful of all your members, of all the people that you value in this world. Like, I don't want to be corny, but at the end of the day, we expect you to be respectful, right? And if you feel that this is respectful, then I guess that's your prerogative, man. So we've had these same conversations with Sir John A. Macdonald schools, right? The names of things. It's a good discussion to have, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's up to me to make the decision for people. I can fill in the blanks as to who, or fill in, a full picture as to who this person is, what they represent, what they could represent, what they mean to some people. But at the end of the day, if you choose to still say, well, I think it's important that it be named
So
that,
could
then
I
fair
write
enough.
him a letter then to say the council would support their local decision?
I would. My expectation of any school is to be
As long as he
respectful,
is to be respectful.
respectful of their students, of their community members, and of neighboring community members.
And the indigenous and the native the Indians who were here first.
And if if that should be the forefront of their thought is. I wouldn't want somebody to just say, "Well, we can't do it anymore because the Indians didn't want us to do
Yeah,
it." That's such a crappy lesson.
I would suggest, that they be, that our history be taught in their school. as a condition of using that name. It's just not because the Indians were seen to be resilient and strong and tough and could survive anything. But of course, that's something that we should celebrate, the strength of our people. Because we wouldn't be here if they weren't strong and had resilience.
So I'm good with you writing that letter, Chief.
Okay, so just we'll respond in that fashion then. So Anne, do you want to craft a letter to that effect and send it around for approval of the council before we send it? Okay, that's what we'll do then. At least we can get back to them. Okay, the motion to go in private.
I do have an action item before we do.
Okay, go ahead.
For the next council or an upcoming council, can I request that the golf board present to council
Yes.
on either the previous year, kind of a summary, and then plans moving forward?
Well, they're supposed to be, it's a corporation, Josh. We're supposed to submit an audit.
I'm just saying, like, I'm as a member of council, I'd like to request a meeting with the golf board and potentially management.
I've requested a meeting take place with the golf board. I sent David an email.
Yeah, that's the golf
Saying
board. I'm
present-
talking about council, so that's all.
Yeah,
I'm just,
present to
for an
council.
action item, right? Can I request a meeting between the golf board and management with the council?
Yes, we'll have a motion to that effect then.
If it requires one, it's an action
I
item.
think we should have a motion.
I can make a motion.
We'll second it. Request the golf
Chief, I have a question. Are you suggesting in public or private?
in public.
Public, yeah. Public, it's just,
Is it to request-
it's just the council, like, this is,
request
A
the
year in
council give-
review,
give
a
the
year in
council-
review.
I'll second that motion.
yeah.
I know, I just would let the council, I haven't asked for the information.
Yep.
I was thinking about following up on that today. Great minds think alike.
There you go.
There you go, Chief. I'm having chicken souvlaki for lunch.
Are you?
I'm just kidding, Chief. I'm just kidding.
That's okay. As long as there's one there for me.
Just kidding.
Did you take down the lunch order, Shelley?
We're almost done, I think, Chief.
Yeah,
We're
we're
gonna,
almost
we're gonna wrap up
Yeah,
here.
we'll be
Yeah.
finished.
One, I sent you the updated, the, thing from Cecil on the RAMA, the thing that you put aside.
Right.
I emailed everybody.
Oh, for the
this.
MCR, for the
Yes.
breakdown?
Yes.
Breakdown.
Oh, okay.
And you looked at it, it's all
I
good?
emailed it to everybody, sir.
It's all good, you looked at it?
It's broken down by category.
You able to print that off for the Chief, Amzy?
Just read it off, please, since we have.
You need it bigger, sorry.
Then we can get that resolution passed and then we'll finish up the audit.
And the other thing, just a second, Chief, the other thing is, John's available at 2 by Teams.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch it, Angela.
John Truer, council wanted to talk to him.
Yes.
He's available at 2 o'clock by Teams.
Is council agreeable to come back at 2?
Via Teams.
I can join on Teams.
I can join on Teams.
Teams then, set up a Teams call.
I'll be at a medical appointment, so I'm.
Jan, is that good for you? 2
Yeah.
o'clock? Good for you, Chris?
I have another appointment. I'm not sure. What are the questions? Can they not be circulated prior? or-
I didn't send him anything, I didn't actually tell, I forgot, but I.
Well, Teddy's got the questions. You're gonna be on the call.
Well, the main question is, where's the audit at? When is it gonna be ready to present to the community? That's the main question. Then where it goes from there, I don't know, depending on what the answers are.
And I can text back that it's confirmed for 2 o'clock, and just say council wants to
You're
talk
talking
about
about
the status for
20,
21, 22, where it is, where it's at.
21, 22.
You'll be able to answer your questions. We can report back the answers if you're not able to be there. If you don't have any questions for them specifically, but I think we're all curious to those questions.
Yes.
And do you want Cecil on that call, obviously? or-
Sure, why not?
I think that would be ideal.
Okay, we have a consolidated audit requirement, and so anything that's band empowered, we have to incorporate that into our audit, so that would include the golf course, that would include our wind power, our solar power, that, they give a report on that. We get quarterly statements on that, so, on the wind power solar, but I don't know about the golf course.
Okay, I'll text him back that 2 o'clock is good, and the team's invitation will be coming probably from Shelley. Good?
Yep.
Okay.
So
yeah.
anyway,
Do you want me to read this out, or are you gonna show him, or do you want her to print it?
just read it out.
Okay. Lands research, 105,616.11. New admin building, 73,189.40. Recreation, under health, 29,000.
What was the expense for on the new admin building?
I was paying our bill. Paying our loan.
I thought that was just automatic $45,000 a month taken out of there.
We're probably close to being.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's come out of our general bank accounts, we're just replacing
Yeah,
it.
correct.
I got it. Okay.
All this is.
Yep.
When's that done?
Next year,
I believe it is.
next year it'll be all paid out.
2024?
Yep.
Yeah.
10
okay.
years.
10 years.
We did
10
it
years.
July 2014, so.
10-year loan.
Okay, back to recreation, 29,938.58. Fitness center, $59,066.42. Nation building budget, $207,048.55. Fire program, 72,126.75. Culbertson, 381,150.66. Library O&M, 4,277.02. Medical services building, which is the library, is $29,316.48. Community service building, $25,247.81. Water main Shenango project, $74,234.05. School transportation, $156,234.23. Phase 3 water distribution project, $1,394,670. Water phase 4 project, $49,762.35. And loan payments. Loan payments due admin building is $517,643.40. Oh, the 73,189 is probably the in account for the building, the O&M for this building.
Okay.
Sorry. It's loan payments for the fire hall, $69,951.37. Health related policy, $14,278.71. And Mohawk language, $375,000. That totals your $3,638,752.
Okay, and so that'll go in the, all that listing will go in the MCR, Shelley? Okay. Who will make a motion to approve?
I'll move. You said you sent us that information, Nancy?
I did.
Okay, I can't open my email.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Bryce has to fix this thing. Something's
It's been
wrong.
moved by Ted to approve that, and those items will be listed in the MCR that you'll sign. Who will second the motion?
I could second.
Stacia? Is anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the resolution is carried.
That's why I don't cheat. I think that was the only things I had outstanding to try and take care of.
I believe so. Those
The only
two
question
items.
I have about it, Angela, is you can check with Lisa and the lawyer. I understand that some of the money was for legal as well, for the Culbertson in that settlement. So does some of that have to come be reversed to the band under that Culbertson money?
You want to know if some of it has to be reversed out? I thought legal fees weren't going to be handled until the whole.
Well, that's what I understood, but I've heard at one time that there was something in there for legal, but I thought we were supposed to negotiate that after the next round of.
That's what I understood, was that's when it was going to be
Okay.
done, but
I'd like an
The
email from
Culbertson-
Laura to clarify that.
would you want to clarify what?
Sure. Because they never did give us a breakdown of what the $30 million was for. Chris?
Sorry, I was just talking to someone up there.
Sorry, you want to, I got lost, I'm sorry, Steve. What do you want me to check again? I'm sorry.
Okay, I want a little bit more clarity on the Culberson settlement. Was there any money in there for legal? Because we never,
Partial settlement?
the partial settlement, I don't believe there was, because we did say at the negotiation table that they were going to discuss that later.
That's what I understood.
But if there was, I need clarity on that, because I've heard somebody say there was at one point in time.
They wouldn't send the breakdown, see?
We never did
So
get
I'm
the
not gonna
breakdown,
find
so I
that
don't
out.
know.
That was the Fed.
Just a question. That's all it is.
Let's clarify. I don't recall it being included. It was something to be negotiated after.
Okay.
Okay. So that MCR will then be ready for Shelley. Will get that ready for you to sign. And that will help finalize the audit for this year.
Mhm.
Okay, we need a motion to go in private.
Make a move.
Moved by Josh, who will second it.
I'll say.
Ted, anyone opposed? Right, anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried.